lucky with what we've been able to achieve. Like MHM was sort of founded in 2015, sort of the back end of my career, and being able to get the clinical professionals on, do the research and elements like that. We've done it all properly with research partners. We're just getting across the line with the University of Wollongong. So we've done it all right. But we've done that just across 350,000 Australian workers from 125 different companies now, which I probably wouldn't say partner, but we've built relationships and collaborations with some of those ones there, which are some of the biggest companies, not just in Australia, but in the world. So being able to do that is unbelievable. Like we've worked with workforces that have got 10,000 people strong or 200 people strong or 50 people strong. But some of the ways, like, some of the companies, like the mining companies that we've been able to work with, where we've been with them for the last 3 or 4 years, and we've got ongoing relationships that we've had with leaders, with frontline workers, with operators, with admin staff, and some of the stories, like, for example, I won't say the company, but we have our Workplace Champions Peer Support Program. So that's stage 3 of our Mental Health Workplace Blueprint. So this company we'd been working with for 3 years. We'd been able to do the awareness, the education, the training, the resources, but we just implemented the Workplace Champions Peer Support Program. They'd been trained up, they'd been resourced, and they're ready to rumble. So one of the Workplace Champions, he was actually a shift boss. This was in a fly out mine. And this shift boss obviously had the training, but he identified one of his crew when he came into the pre-start at 5:30 a.m. He was off. He wasn't his usual self. He identified the changes in what he was usually like. And what we talk about is, if you identify the changes worth the checking. So he was able to, he didn't do it in front of everyone. He just said, look, when we're going underground today in the light vehicle, the LV, just come with me. I just want to try and have a bit of a check-in with you. Yeah, no worries. On the way down, he started the conversation with him. I'd noticed some changes in what you usually like. I just want you to know I'm here to support you. I'm a little bit worried about you. Like, obviously, I'm here to support you. And this worker just broke down. Absolutely broke down. Opened up. He'd been through some relationship issues. He's not going to be able to see the kids. He's away for 2 weeks, and it was sort of halfway through the swing. And through those risk factors that you learn through the training, he asked the questions directly. Had you had any suicidal thoughts? And he said, yeah, I had. He goes, when was your last thought? And had you made a plan? And being able to understand the training and ask those questions directly, the worker said, yeah, I have had a plan. He pulled out a bottle of pills he was going to take when he got dropped underground. And because he was able to ask those questions, he identified those changes, he was able to get into the support. They got him back up above ground. They linked him in with the crisis support through the EAP. They organised the chaperone to get him flown off site. He got into the clinical support that he needed. He spent some time in a mental health clinic, and he was able to work through some of those challenges. And then the leader was able to be debriefed and stuff like that. But that gentleman's still with us. He's still there for his kids because of, I'm not saying it's just because of us, but it was because we've been able to put those elements we're just talking about, what makes a mentally healthy, supportive workplace. And if you want to talk about a return on investment, I don't see any bigger or better return on investment than that. And I got stories like that. Of what we're able to do in the workplace that we do anecdotally, and obviously we can measure it as well. But that's probably one that really sticks with me, where it's just like what you do is actually changing and saving people's lives. And I'm dedicated to what we do. And other simple things like, look, we still, a lot of the workplace is still at awareness. So part of the awareness session is we share the power of story with our facilitators. And I've got, I think I've done over 5,000 or something workshops of stage 1 in the last 6 years. And you go into a workplace, there might be 100 people in the room. It's more of a presentation rather than a workshop. So you don't really know if anyone's listening. You've got 100 people, and afterwards someone will come up and then they'll share their story with you. And then you'll listen, and then they'll say to you, look, I've never shared that with anyone. And I said, look, I really appreciate that, and I want to acknowledge your story. And from there, then with a bit of a plan, link them into some support, and you'll get a text message or an email or a phone call, say 3 months later, and they'll say, look, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your story and helping me acknowledge my story. I went and sought that support. I'm now being a better father or a better mother. I'm better looking after myself. And look, they say, look, you saved my life. And that's just, that's as challenging as it is, because on the other hand, on a weekly basis, we'll be supporting students in crisis that may be suicidal, and we're providing that support, which that's not easy. It's full on. Look, we've got professional debriefers, all our controls in place to look after our team, but that's very, very tough. And the other part of it is, though, when you get those people to support, it's so rewarding to see those people not have to suffer in silence.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Now, it seems the work you're doing is amazing, and obviously the story you share in terms of the gentleman that was planning to, essentially take his own life that day on that shift, the intervention of just the identification and then asking the right questions and then connecting with support literally changed his life, and obviously the workers around him, his family, friends, so hugely impactful, which is awesome. It was quite emotional just hearing you tell the story. So I love the work that you guys are doing in that regard. I mean, we talked before, we sort of touched on that, for me, I think physical fitness is quite well understood in practice. It feels linear and it feels tangible. So I think, in basic terms, if I eat well and train, I'm a good chance to be physically well for the best part. It feels less well understood when it comes to mental health, but how do we take a similar approach to get to that stage with our mental health or mental fitness?
Yeah, really good question. Really good question. And it's no different kind of what you said there. And I'll give you'll probably see in the background our mental health continuum that we've developed here. So I think first and foremost, look at your physical. If you said belt buckle, you can jump on a set of scales, you can get a blood test, MRI, X-ray, and it gives you an indication of where your physical health's at. Now, part of best practice is you don't want people checking in with themselves to self-diagnose. You don't want to be diagnosing on Dr. Google, anything like that. This is not a diagnostic tool. This is a self-awareness tool. So it's how do you check in with your mental health when it's not tangible? It's not like you can take out your brain and show me and I can go, okay, looks like you're going pretty well. If someone comes in on a set of crutches, you got an understanding, oh shit, looks like something's happened. They're in plaster, they've broke their leg. We can understand that. But something that's not tangible, we don't necessarily understand. What we don't understand, sometimes we fear. So we've developed a pretty clear, simple, effective tool, mental health continuum. It's just a fancy name for a line. But look, we've used the traffic light system. As you can see, you've got the green for healthy, yellow for sliding, orange for struggling, red for ill. Mm-hmm. We all have a mental health. So we are all on this continuum. And we move up and down this every second, minute, hour of every day. Why do we move down this continuum? Because we go through contributing factors, change, challenge, adversity, that affects the way we think, act and feel. If we do slide down the continuum, hopefully we can identify that. We can then proactively put those elements that we spoke about in place to help ourselves slide back up this continuum. The things that help us slide back up the continuum I'll get to, but on the top of this we can look at, and we can share this with your viewers as well as a resource, but on the top we've got what we call the indicators. So they're the signs and symptoms or the changes you can identify within yourself, okay, or you can go one step further as someone else, depending on where you are. And then depending on where you are, on the bottom is the actions that you take, depending on where you are. So whether it's mindset, coping strategies, support networks, etc. What happens in Australia, though, and the literature is crystal clear on it, 54% of people that go through a mental health struggle, mental ill health, or experience a mental illness, they don't seek support. They don't access treatment. They suffer in silence, exactly as I did and you heard in my story. But if we go through these struggles and we do nothing, the probability of sliding into the red or experiencing that, it does increase. And that's where literature is crystal clear again, a proactive early intervention approach that leads to better outcomes. So having this as a self-awareness tool, well, ask yourself, where are you on this continuum today? And depending on where you are, we'll give you some indication of what you need to put in place or what support you might need to help you put things in place to help yourself slide back up. Because I spent 22, 23 years down here because I just didn't know. I was afraid. I was scared to ask for help. I just had no awareness or education and I had no understanding. I still slide down to the orange and red, but there's able to put things in place to help ourselves slide back up. So, happy to share that as a resource. But that point one is that self-awareness. And then as you can see here on the top in the green and the yellow is self-care. So what can you put in place for yourself? Those coping strategies, that self-care. Self-care is not selfish. It's also the social support, community support, whether that's a sporting club, a cooking club, the man walk, the she shed, the men's shed, whatever it may be. or if we slide down into the orange and the red, we still recommend those connections, but it is a little bit different down here where it's recommended in and around the professional clinical support, whether it's your company employee assistance program, a Medicare mental health care plan, psychologist, counsellor, psychiatrist, whatever is needed to appropriate support suited to what it is that you're going through. But having this as a check-in tool, just know that you don't have to manage your mental health or a mental illness on your own. Taking a proactive approach leads to better outcomes. The big one is you don't have to do any of this on your own.
Now, I think great from a diagnostic or awareness point of view, and then obviously then transcends to actions you can take to sort of shift up the continuum, like you sort of said, and it's not a static thing, day to day, moment to moment, it's changing. No. So I think it's a good awareness tool, and then obviously pushing yourself towards some sort of proactive action to sort of help on that sort of side of it. Going back to the corporate context, beyond the comments made already, what are some of the more proactive organisations doing at the moment to achieve a mentally healthy workplace versus being reactive, which I think, sadly, most organisations fit into that reactive mode. Anything you can sort of share in that regard? Yeah,
like we've got a really, I won't say the company just out of respect, yep. But they've been one of the best, if not the best, that we've worked with. So they followed the guidelines, they did, and so they did the mental health workplace audit. They formed their mental health committee. So they had members across all different units. So they got white collar, blue collar within their organisation. They had an individual from every part of the business, from different business units. And then we were able to do the discovery meetings through that with the committee. And from that, our clinical team, our organisational site, build out the mental health strategy from those results and recommendations. And then we worked with the committee to select the interventions from the blueprint, but also align with their objectives and what they wanted to achieve as an organisation from the top. From there, we then build it out. It's a 3-year mental health strategy. And then there's other stakeholders involved in that, like their employee assistance program. There's another organisation doing a little bit of resilience training with them as well as in collaboration with us. Because the key is, it's not competition, it's collaboration. And that's where you're going to get better outcomes as well. So from that, we were able to then connect through that power of story, that stage 1 awareness, building into the education with the whole workforce. And we've been doing that sort of over the last 18 months. We've put 220 of their people leaders through our mental health response course, which is a full-day course. And the results from that have been fantastic. And then we've just started the mental health resilience sessions with them as well across all 860 of their staff over the next sort of 3 to 6 months. And then we've got next year their peer support program that they're launching. So it's going through an expression of interest. They've obviously got to get vetted by our clinical team. But then it looks like there's going to be about 170 workplace champions put through mental health first aid. But then they're going to get ongoing support and personal development from our team. And then we're going to re-audit and have a look at the behavioural changes and the return on investment from that. But some of the results, I guess, from them implementing that is they've obviously been through a global pandemic where they've dealt with having to transition to work from home and the challenges that come with that, homeschooling, being disconnected from people, obviously the worries about restrictions and everything that comes with that. But then also the frontline workers who have been working all throughout a global pandemic, being able to connect and seek support if they need it, have the conversations within the crews, talk about some of the tools that we implement and being able to do that, where they've seen their EAP uptake increase by 14% over that period since doing the awareness, the education. And the leaders from doing that training feel so much more confident in providing support to their crews, and their crew members actually feel more confident and are having more conversations around that because they know their leaders have had the training. Mm. So we're really looking forward to doing the re-audit, which I think will be sort of midway through next year to see what those results are. But that's some of the great things there. And unfortunately, some organisations, and look, I'm all about honesty. And again, we're not talking about an individual company, but where it's so much more the ad hoc approach, where unfortunately there might have been a suicide within a workplace, and you get brought in to then obviously you put the elements in place there from that reactive perspective, which look, sometimes that happens, and it breaks my actual heart when you come in there and It's the reason why you're sort of going in there, but it's the reality of it. But doing it proactively, and I'm so pumped, and I'm sure you are as well, that there is obviously an international standard. There is going to be legislative changes, and there's going to be things done best practice. And we're gonna be saving and changing people's lives. But from a business perspective, you're gonna retain your staff more. You're gonna have less turnover, less absenteeism, less presenteeism, less safety issues, less psychological claims. You're gonna have a more productive workforce. You're gonna have a happier workforce. You're gonna have a better culture. Like it's a no-brainer for me, and that's why I draw it so much on what Wayne Bennett did in my rugby league career. He wasn't just about you being the best player. It was about you being the best person. And if you had your ducks in a row off the field, you managed everything and did all the training to your best of your ability, you looked after your nutrition, your sleep, you did all that, you're going to be better on the field. And it's no different within the workplace. You better look after your people. They're the most important asset. Productivity, return on investment, bottom line will take care of itself.
Yeah. Now, I think a couple of things within the answers you provide. I think sounds like Wayne was looking at the holistic you. He wasn't looking at, Dan as the rugby player versus, Dan outside. Was looking at you as a collective. And if he could help you become and be the best person, then that would impact the organisation in a positive way. But obviously it would help you outside of, the football arena as well, which is key. And I think the other thing is, the mental health strategy over 3 years. It's not just about a course, sending a few people to a course or get a presenter in for a day. It's a journey, right? Yep. Okay. Audit now. Where are we? Get the baseline. What are we going to do over a period of time to shift some of the behaviours, the awareness, give people tools, techniques, all that sort of stuff? Just so critical. So I love a couple of those key answers. So